brake booster. There we go. Cool. Alright, so the first step we're going to do is we got to get this brake fluid out. And I just put new brake fluid in here, so it's not going to be too dirty, but I'm just going to siphon it all out with a baster. Almost there. Alright, so I got a 12mm line wrench for this. The master cylinder brake line nuts right here. Gotta crack them loose. And then I can do these other nuts right down here. It's hard to see these ones. Right down here. We gotta take off these 13mm. Alright, so I just about got these lines undone here. So disconnected the brake lines from the master cylinder. Try to put those down away so I can access this 13mm right there. Alright, so I got a 13mm ratchet, a little wrench here. Just gonna make it easy to take this off. Alright, so I'm ready to remove this master cylinder from the power brake booster. And I got the two 13mm bolts undone. So it's just going to slide on out. And boom. There is the master cylinder. I put a little glove over the two brake lines that are exposed so nothing gets in, and to try to keep the atmosphere from soaking up with the brake fluid. Alright, so I removed the master cylinder, taking a look at it. I don't know if you guys can see, but it is absolutely dirty in here. Alright, so this thing is so dirty, I'm going to take it off of the actual cylinder itself. I found that I can put two straight picks into it, and I'm starting to get this thing to come off here, so. Now that I got my picks in there, I pinched those little tabs down, and it just popped right off like that. So now I can go ahead and clean this thing really well. The color difference, the front's getting clean, the back side not getting clean. After we clean this out, we're going to have to let it dry for a while. But we still got to put that brake booster on. So I'm not going to bore you guys with the cleaning process. But yeah, clean out your master cylinder canister. Especially if it's coated in black stuff. I almost got this vacuum line off here. Don't forget that. Try to get a pick underneath of it and pry it up if you can. And that brake pedal connects to this right here. This little spindle. So that spindle connects to the brake pedal, and you have these 4 bolts, these 4 studs that go through the firewall onto the inside underneath. I'm going to try to get a video for you guys. So here's that little clip I was talking about. You can kind of just push it straight up and off. Just like that. Alright, so for my Jeep WJ, this right here is a 13mm. Alright, so I got all those bolts out. Thank goodness. Those are a pain in the bottom right there, I tell you what. Now it's time to pull this thing out of here. Hopefully. Of course, these lines are going to want to get in my way. Alright. Got it out of there. Jeez. Alright guys, so I ended up losing daylight, got carried away with dinner time and feeding the kids and everybody, but I'm back. We're going to put this brake booster in and kind of fit up the master cylinder for tonight, but we're going to wrap this up and continue on with the calipers and brake bleed tomorrow. So I'm going to throw this in here real quick. Alright, so I got it down here most of the way. Let me try to get my little wires. I don't even use these wires anymore. But there's a pressure gauge for the oil pressure right there. Alright, so I got it back in there. I just have to tighten down the nuts on the back side. One thing I learned though, guys, is that when you're putting one of these brake boosters in, make sure the back plate is lined up on the cabin side, because that back plate was kind of skewed, a little cockeyed on me, and it made putting that thing in a lot harder. Alright, so I'm going to throw this back in there. First and foremost, I'm going to loosen these up. Got my lines loose. I'm going to loosen them up by hand and then try to throw these brake lines down here back on to their respective line. Got them twisted, so untwist them a little bit. And yeah, it's going to be the big one for me in the front, the smaller one in the back. Alright, got it ready to go. I'm going to take this off of the power brake booster. I'm going to slide it in for now. What I'm doing is I'm putting this into the brake booster itself, and I'm making sure that the spindle of the brake booster is lining up with the pedestal that I was pushing on the master cylinder. You got to make sure they meet and slide into one another. And that allows you to scoot it on up there just like that. I'm going to be swapping these little plastic tubes to the brake lines themselves. So I'm going to do this first one. Undo it by hand. I'm going to take the barb off actually so you can spin it. Take the barb off, spin it. Try to be quick because it's leaking brake fluid now. And we're also trying to keep it topped off in the cylinder itself. Alright, so we got that first one finger tight. But as I do this, I want to mention, when you take off this plastic line, you should actually pull it out of the reservoir, because it acts as a siphon, and it was siphoning out some of my brake fluid, so I wasted some of my brake fluid on the ground there. And like I said, take that out so it doesn't siphon. And throw this other line on there. There's just these two studs. You can hardly see it back here from where the camera's sitting, but there's a stud there, and there's a stud on the other side of the master cylinder that I have to put these 13mm nuts back on. We pretty much got it all installed again, and all I have to do is really bleed the brakes from the brakes themselves. So I'll go ahead and make a video on that as well, like a little short clip of bleeding the brakes, how you can do it on your own. But yeah, I'm going to snug this down, get everything hooked back up, hook up the sensor, and I'm going to start it up and see if I actually have a working brake booster now. Well, that wraps it up for today, but if you guys found this video helpful, it would be awesome if you could leave a like, comment, and subscribe below. We're going to be doing some brake caliper upgrades on here, going from the Teva to the Akabono brakes, and also bleeding the brakes here soon. So stay tuned to keep on wrenching, guys.